Well, Harley Davidson have gone and done a big old U-turn. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for all future videos. So, Harley Davidson, I released a video just a day or so ago, and yeah, questioning the direction of the company. Now, well, the company have issued a statement. I'm sure you've already heard that they're doing away with all these DEI policies, and they're going to be really mindful of where they put money to and what they support and all this kind of stuff. So, look, if you were ever concerned about this or ever really thought it was a big problem, then this is going to be music to your ears, right? But I think, as I say, I think a lot of this has just been blown up out of proportion. But I also think that Harley Davidson have not handled this at all well, and they kind of reap what they sow. They have these policies that nobody really wants to agree with, or even if you do agree with them, you kind of question, well, is there any place for it when we're just talking about a manufacturer and producing products that we may or may not want to buy? This is why I've always talked about politics in sport, politics in manufacturing, and certainly producing motorcycles. It's a separate thing. I don't really want to, discuss that when I'm thinking about motorcycles. If you work for one of these companies, then yeah, you're going to have these kinds of issues that you have to deal with. But lots of people are dealing with these issues on a day-to-day basis. And if there's a backlash to counter that, then fine. But again, separate issue for me. Most people, I would imagine, would kind of think, yeah, they kind of might be pissed off by the whole DEI thing and the way Harley Davidson have handled this, but at the same time they kind of think, I still want to ride my bike. It's not going to affect me directly. Even now, they've got the PR disaster that they're sending jobs abroad. If you don't work for Harley Davidson and you're not really particularly that bothered by it, then, it's not really an issue. The thing is, for us here in the UK and other parts of the world, of course, that are outside the United States and I believe Canada as well, that, all our bikes these days come from Thailand anyway, come from the Thailand plant anyway, because it's all to do with export tariffs as well. Very few actually come from the United States. So if those RevMax bikes are going over to Thailand, where most of the sales are around the world and not in the United States, then you kind of think, well, yeah, what's the real issue? It's all about the workers in the American assembly plants. That's what people are concerned of if you're American, right? And quite rightly so, because you want American jobs by Americans in the United States, right? You want that to happen. So it's quite understandable why, people would be upset about it. But this is kind of a layer upon layer of bad choices, bad PR, not really thinking this through when you're dealing with your main customer base, which is within the United States as well. And it's, throw in all this political stuff, this woke agenda stuff, and then all of a sudden it becomes a melting pot where people are just going to get really fed up with it. And people online will talk about it. Now, not only have Harley Davidson had a real PR disaster with handling this whole woke affair, right? And they've backpedaled and they've said they're going to get rid of it. But how much are they really going to get rid of this? How much are they really going to do a 180 on all their policies? It's going to be a tough ask for them to all of a sudden say, no, we're scrapping this and we're doing that. It'd be interesting to see what happens in a few months, what happens within that, and what stories come out of the company. But most people, if you work for Harley Davidson, are going to be more interested in, do I still have a job? Can I still earn a living from Harley Davidson, rather than whether the company is DEI, woke this, woke that. That's what people are really interested in. If you work for them, you want to know if you still got a job. So the biggest PR thing that's kind of gone under the radar a little bit under this woke thing is that they've shifted production over to Thailand. But again, it only affects a small number of people, really, in the grand scheme of things. And it's only going to be a temporary measure. So maybe that production will come back out. We don't know, and we're not being told whether those production lines within the assembly plants are being rejigged for other bikes. That we just don't know. So that for the jobs are completely safe. We just don't know that. But if it couldn't get any worse, than a few days ago, Harley Davidson were made to pay, or are going to be made to pay, $240 million in punitive damages because of a trike accident where a female rider or passenger was killed. And this was after the bike had a recall for traction control and braking issues, I believe. The bike had, or the trike had gone into a dealership to have all these fixes, but they hadn't given it a test ride to see if these problems still existed. Anyway, they still did exist. They've won in court. Harley Davidson have lost again. So it's just another layer that they really don't need right now. But then again, it's making big news out there. And, for those involved, they're saying, no, you can't come here, Harley Davidson, and think that a small town is not going to stand its ground and, make you pay for what you've done. And again, this is big corporate Harley Davidson not really understanding its customer base not only feel aggrieved, but also are standing their ground, and they will come after you if you're not doing what's right by the riders, by their families, so on and so forth. And also, put that aside, just produce bikes that work, that don't have to be fixed, and don't, cause accidents. Now, this could happen to all manufacturers, of course it is, but it's the way you deal with it, it's the way you respond to it. Now, you could argue that this is not a Harley Davidson issue. This is the dealership's problem because they didn't do the work properly. So there is a counter argument here that it's not Harley Davidson Corporate's fault, it's the dealership's fault. But the court has said that it's Harley Davidson issue. They've got to pay $240 million. I think the grand total amount was $287 million they've lost out. But the $240 million punitive damages, that's the one. That's the one that they're hammering home. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to address a couple of things which I've noticed on YouTube in particular, but I would imagine it's going on other social platforms as well. Ever since this whole saga started with Harley Davidson, this wokeness and everything like that, I've said that there are many YouTube channels out there and accounts on social media who are kind of agitating this, who don't even know anything about motorcycles. They've never ridden one, and they openly admit they don't ride motorcycles, but they're going after the agenda. So I get that. There are many YouTube channels out there and other accounts, I'm sure, who are involved in the motorcycle world, let's say, either riding or a dealership level or whatever. And they've been making comments out of it, right? But they're just kind of small YouTube channels, very small YouTube channels. Maybe they've just started out. Maybe they're just giving their 2 pennies worth, that kind of thing. There are other YouTube channels who are a little bit bigger, let's say in my kind of category, and maybe a little bit bigger, who've come out, but we've basically come out and called it as it is. Just providing a balanced argument, just asking questions, giving our own opinions, but at least we're talking about it. We're not hiding beneath a rock. There are other YouTube channels who are even bigger, a lot bigger, than main Harley Davidson ones, and you think, where the hell are they? Where are they during this whole process? I'll tell you where they are. They're keeping it on the down low because, as I've said before, regardless of how independent they try and say they are, they have a relationship with Harley Davidson. They have a relationship with, many other motorcycle manufacturers, and it all comes down to they don't want to sever ties with that. They don't want to piss off the people or the powers that be within those organizations. And with Harley Davidson now, they don't want to start coming out and giving their 2 pennies worth or saying that Harley Davidson are right or they're wrong and all this kind of stuff, because they're basically saying, well, I don't want to alienate myself from those who are angry at Harley Davidson, and I don't want to alienate myself from Harley Davidson, which I might have a financial relationship with, or they give me access to some of their products to make videos. They're protecting that. They're protecting themselves from any kind of negative backlash until this kind of blows over. I get it. This is not criticism on about these guys at all. Far from it. I fully understand it. But this is what I've said for many, many years in terms of YouTube and everything. There's only a few YouTube channels who you could really say are completely independent. The ones that are not influenced by, external forces, that are not being paid by anybody, who are not at the beck and call of somebody, or even if they believe they are completely independent, at the back of their mind, they've got to know that, I might have to be careful what I say here. Even if they tell you, no, this is completely independent, I can say whatever I want. Because nobody comes out, very few of them come out and say, this product is absolutely shit, it's absolutely rubbish, get rid of it. Because as soon as that happens, they know they're less likely to be call back again, unless they have such a huge following that it doesn't really matter. Most are still chasing that kind of relationship, but I'm surprised that some of them whose relationships have soured with Harley Davidson, they haven't come out and said anything. A couple have come out and said, look, they're a little bit like me, really. I just like it, so what? In that respect, it doesn't affect my life in particular. I'm still going to ride my bike, and what happens in corporate work, it's that's up to them. It's got nothing to do with me. I think Shade Tree Surgeon came out and said something like that. I will kind of, I like his channel anyway. I think he does some great stuff as well. But at the same time, I've kind of questioned some of the things he's done in the past. But on the whole, I think he's done great, and also think that what he said there was kind of what most people are kind of thinking as well. You know what? It's got nothing to do with me, none of my business, just get on with it. Ride your bikes. If you like Harley, you do. If you don't, you don't, get on with it. But there are lots of other big names out there, or bigger names, that just haven't said a word. Now, maybe it could be there's a bit of a lag between when they're producing their videos and when they actually publish them. So I could release this video right now, and then tomorrow you have a whole host of these YouTubers coming out and saying, oh, what a sorry affair this whole thing was with Harley Davidson, and maybe they learnt their lesson. They're speaking, they're listening to their customer base. They could come out and do that. I don't know. But the likes of Adam Sandoval, who I thought, well, do you know what? You might have said something. Blockhead, Her Two Wheels, I don't know, even $1 Million Bogan, right? You would have thought that he's been quite critical in the past, and you think, well, maybe he would have said something over the last couple of days. Maybe he will. I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to preempt what they've said, but the point is, up until this point, they haven't really said anything. So it's been down to a lot of the smaller channels to kind of put their head above the parapet and say, look, hold on a minute, this isn't right, or I've observed this, or it doesn't really affect me, or whatever. They're giving their honest opinion because they're independent. Or it's down to these channels, whether they're motorcycle related or not, who have a vested interest in this anti-woke agenda, or they're these agitating kind of channels who have nothing to do with motorcycles. And this is what really kind of annoyed me, really. They're coming in and kind of claiming that they know all, or they're trying to say things about the motorcycle industry or about Harley Davidson, which I've been saying, well, this has been going on for years, and they're quoting things that happened, a couple of years ago and everything. It's like, we've already said this. This is nothing new. So I'll get back to the original point. The reason why they're not saying anything, because it affects their future relationship. But also, they've got to be very careful about what they say, because they can alienate their fan base in either direction. They can alienate, let's say, a potential sponsor or some kind of working relationship with a manufacturer or any kind of dealership, either way, because of what they say. They're kind of trying to protect their position, whereas somebody like me, for example, I've got no position to protect. There is nothing to protect here. I don't have a relationship here. I have a good relationship, I believe, with my local dealership, all the guys that work there, but only as a customer. As I go in, I just buy things from there. I'll go in, have a coffee, go and say hello, that kind of thing. But, I don't have a kind of financial arrangement or any kind of arrangement with anybody. And I've always kind of prided myself on being that kind of independent voice on YouTube, just giving my opinions, telling you what's what, saying if something is good, highlighting when something is not so good, being critical at some points, giving praise at other points as well, trying to show you where things can be improved or fixes for your bike. By the way, there could be a good fix coming out very, very soon on the channel as well, so watch out for that if you're a Softail rider. But there's so many things that are sent my way, so many ideas, so many offers of support, or so many offers of collaborations with companies, and for the most part I just say no, because I don't really see how it's a benefit to me or a benefit to the channel, but certainly I don't see how it's a benefit to you guys as well. And that's what I would say. I'd rather be independent and have nobody watch the videos, that kind of be some kind of mouthpiece to an organization. Now, I'll leave you with this. In many ways, we're all a mouthpiece for Harley Davidson, the likes of Harley Davidson, or any company that we talk about, or any product that we talk about, or anything. Just by the mere notion of me driving my truck down the road or riding my bike down the road, I'm a walking, riding, driving billboard for that company, right? So if I'm talking about Harley Davidson, hey, there's no such thing as bad PR. they're getting free press all the time. And this is one of the criticisms of Harley Davidson and other companies as well. They're getting so much free press from the social media world, from YouTube especially, for many, many years. And there hasn't really been a lot in return. There hasn't been that kind of two-way street, that open conversation between a wide range of channels, let's say, not just the ones that have a bigger following. The reason being because they're only going after the audience. They're going after the numbers. They're not going after the content. They're not going after what people are saying. They're not going after what could be good for the company or bad for the company. They're basically just going after the numbers, and they want positive PR. Why wouldn't they, right? It makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't they? But what I'm saying is there's this disparity there. And that's where you kind of fall on your sword a little bit, because we want to talk about these things. We want to talk about bikes or cars or whatever. And ultimately, yeah, we're going to be talking about a product or a company that we either like or we don't like, but it's always free publicity for them. So I'm going to continue talking about these things and topics that interest me, come what may. It doesn't really make any difference because I'm independent. I have no allegiance to anybody. As I say, I ride my bike and enjoy riding my bike, but if I decide to go in a different direction in the future, that'll be my decision. It won't be a decision where I'm going to be worrying about my subscriber count or my views or anything like that, because ultimately every channel should be about your own views, about your own experiences, about what you want to show the world, not what other people are telling you, not what other people expect, and certainly not what a company expects you to do. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell for future videos. And I will catch you again on another video coming very soon. Bye now.